Imagine this. Alex finally, and I mean finally, managed to save his very first $10,000. It was a huge milestone. But almost immediately, instead of celebrating, he just felt this overwhelming sense of panic. Between inflation silently eating away at his cash, the very real fear of shady investment brokers, and all that confusing fine print on his credit cards, his wealth felt entirely unprotected, like it was just sitting out in the open. But what Alex didn't realize, and what so many of us miss, is that behind the scenes of the U.S. economy, there is a massive overlapping network of agencies standing guard over his money. So today, in this explainer, we are going to open the digital front doors of the U.S. economy and show you exactly who has your back.
You see, the threat to Alex's money doesn't start on Wall Street. It actually starts right at the grocery store. Let's look at a hard number. As of June 2026, the U.S. inflation rate sat at 3.7%. Every single time you scan a barcode or pay a utility bill, you feel the direct, heavy weight of this number. And keeping this silent wealth killer in check? Well, that requires constant, high-level surveillance. And at the exact same time, the July 2026 unemployment rate hovered at 4.1%. Now, these aren't just abstract statistics flashing on a TV screen, right? They represent millions of livelihoods. They represent job security, and really, the overall heartbeat of the American workforce. Add in a Q2 2026 gross domestic product growing at 1.5%, and you suddenly realize the sheer staggering scale of the U.S. economy. A machine this massive just doesn't run on autopilot. Managing its stability and protecting the everyday people participating in it requires some seriously dedicated and powerful guardians. So, to make sense of all of this, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the U.S. financial guardians, the Federal Reserve snapshot, FINRA and market integrity, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and finally, empowering the everyday investor. All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the U.S. Financial Guardians, demystifying the alphabet soup. When trying to protect his hard-earned money, Alex realized the regulatory landscape is actually split into two very distinct worlds. On one side, you've got agencies acting as architects, managing massive macro-level monetary policy and national financial stability. On the flip side, you have the bodyguards, the agencies dealing directly with everyday consumers like us, ensuring individual market integrity, demanding transparency, and fighting back against unfair practices. Moving on to Section 2, the Federal Reserve snapshot, the macro view. So the Federal Reserve is the central bank of the United States. Think of them as the ultimate architect of the economy. Their core mission is to provide a safe, flexible, and stable monetary and financial system. So, when you hear the news talking about interest rates changing, which suddenly impacts your ability to buy a house, or when national economic stress tests make headlines, the Fed is the institution behind the curtain pulling those massive levers. But it's not just about setting interest rates at those highly anticipated FOMC meetings. The Fed's digital front door gives the public incredible access. They publish vast amounts of research data like the Z1 financial accounts and H15 interest rates. They conduct rigorous financial stability stress testing on both large and community banks, and they even manage modernized payment systems like the FedNow service, which literally keeps the national economic engine running smoothly. Which brings us to Section 3, FINRA and market integrity, policing the markets. Let's go back to Alex. When he finally decides to take the plunge and put his 10 grand into the stock market, FINRA is the referee watching the game. They are a not-for-profit, self-regulatory organization with an 85-year history, and they pursue one critical mission: investor protection and market integrity. They actively oversee broker-dealers across the U.S. to ensure the people selling you investments are actually playing by the rules. And believe me, they aren't just handing out gentle warnings. To give you an idea, FINRA recently fined UBS Financial $20 million for anti-money laundering violations. $20 million! That proves that when major financial institutions step out of line, FINRA absolutely has the teeth to step in and hold them accountable. But you don't have to just trust a broker blindly. FINRA provides some incredibly powerful digital tools for the public. Using a tool called BrokerCheck, you can literally research a financial advisor or a firm's entire registration and disciplinary history before you ever hire them. And if things go terribly wrong, they offer a dispute resolution portal for arbitration and mediation.
What's genuinely fascinating here is the sheer scale of their daily operations. It's this massive web of protection. In 2023 alone, FINRA made over 450 insider trading referrals to law enforcement. 450! They also run a dedicated securities helpline specifically for senior citizens. They mandate continuing education for industry pros, and they've even set up a crypto hub to try and manage the Wild West of digital assets.
Next up, Section 4, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, your financial shield.
Okay, so if the Fed is the architect and FINRA is the market referee, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB, is basically the personal bodyguard for your wallet. Their mission is to create and support resilient consumer financial markets where everyday people can safely choose the products they need. Whether you are dealing with a really shady debt collector or some unfair mortgage practice, the CFPB is designed to be your direct line to regulatory help.
Now, it is important to impartially note some ongoing policy shifts happening here. Currently, under Acting Director Vaught, the CFPB is pursuing a deregulatory agenda. This comes as economic estimates from the Council of Economic Advisors suggest that the agency's previous rules may have actually cost consumers somewhere between $237 and $369 billion since 2011. So the stated aim right now is to increase efficiency and make the rules governing these markets more effective. But regardless of those high-level policy shifts, the CFPB still maintains a massive, highly active consumer complaint database, and it covers the exact everyday money topics that keep people up at night. We're talking auto loans, bank accounts, credit cards, debt collection, fraud, scams, mortgages, and student loans. If you experience an unfair practice in any of these areas, their digital front door is wide open for you to submit a complaint directly to them.
Finally, Section 5, empowering the everyday investor, taking action. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is only power if you actually apply it, right? To navigate this financial wilderness safely, you just need to follow a simple 3-step playbook. 1. Always check your broker's background with FINRA's broker check before handing over a single dollar. 2. Educate yourself and verify basic financial literacy concepts on official sites like the SEC's investor.gov. And 3. If you encounter bad actors, don't just accept it as bad luck. Report them to the CFPB.
Ultimately, the goal of all these overlapping agencies is captured perfectly by this quote from FINRA. A vibrant market is at its best when it works for everyone. From the massive macro policies of the Federal Reserve all the way down to the individual consumer databases of the CFPB, this entire infrastructure exists to create a fair, transparent marketplace for ordinary citizens.
Which leaves us with one final thought. Today, we've explored the inflation rates, the multi-million-dollar fines, and the exact tools designed to protect people like Alex and you. But now that you know exactly where the digital front doors to financial protection are, will you actually walk through them? Bookmark these resources, do your homework, and please leave nothing to chance. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.